Max Verstappen may have just triggered a moment that could reshape the future of Formula One. In freezing temperatures, hailstorms, crashes, and completed chaos at the Nürburgring, Verstappen climbed into a Mercedes GT3 car and instantly qualified third against some of the best endurance racers on the planet. But that was not the real shockwave. The real explosion came when Toto Wolff personally flew to the Nürburgring to watch him. Suddenly, one question began spreading across the Formula One paddock. What if Mercedes is no longer simply dreaming about Verstappen, but already preparing their future around him? This qualifying session was absolute madness. A Porsche caught fire during the run. Drivers were dealing with snow and hail in the middle of May. The circuit became so dangerous that yellow flags and slow zones ruined lap after lap. Yet somehow, Verstappen still managed to set one of the fastest times of the day, an incredible 8-minute 1.8 around the green hell on a partially wet track against elite GT specialists. That kind of performance is not supposed to happen this fast, especially because this is not Formula One. The Nürburgring is a completely different beast. One mistake here does not just ruin a corner, it destroys your entire weekend. And with more than 300,000 spectators expected at the event, officials are reportedly already putting special measures in place because Verstappen mania is becoming impossible to contain. But the craziest part? The most important qualifying session has not even happened yet. And if Verstappen delivers one perfect attacking lap tomorrow, this story could become far bigger than endurance racing itself. Nobody expected Max Verstappen to look this comfortable, this quick, or this dangerous so early. The moment he arrived at the Nürburgring, the atmosphere around the event completely changed. Not only because he is a 4-time Formula One world champion, but because the Nürburgring is one of the only tracks in motorsport that truly does not care who you are. Legends have arrived here before and looked completely out of place. This circuit humiliates drivers. The Nordschleife stretches over 25 kilometers through forests, blind crests, steep hills, bumps, fog, freezing air, and sections where drivers barely know what is waiting ahead. Imagine driving flat out down a mountain road during a storm while surrounded by race cars, knowing that one tiny error could launch you into a barrier at terrifying speed. That is why they call it the green hell, and Verstappen walked straight into it without fear. Conditions were brutal long before qualifying even started. Temperatures dropped to around 8 degrees Celsius. Some parts of the circuit were soaked, while others were drying. Grip levels changed from corner to corner. For drivers, that creates a nightmare because the car never feels predictable. One corner gives confidence, and the next instantly takes it away. Then, the chaos escalated even further. A Porsche burst into flames in one of the fastest areas of the track, and another car crashed into it moments later. Yellow flags appeared everywhere. Slow zones interrupted nearly every fast run. Drivers struggled to complete clean laps consistently. The Nürburgring was already turning into a survival challenge, but Verstappen's mentality never changed. That is where things became truly interesting. He was the first driver from the Verstappen racing team to head onto the circuit. That decision says a lot more than people realize. Most drivers prefer waiting for improved grip, more information, and safer conditions. Verstappen wanted none of that. He wanted the track immediately. That alone showed the confidence already flowing through the team. At first, his lap times looked cautious and controlled. Then suddenly, the real Verstappen appeared. After an early installation lap in the 8-minute 4.7 range, he unleashed an astonishing 8.18.539. Instantly, the Mercedes was fighting near the front of the field, and that should terrify everyone else. Most GT drivers spend years learning how to survive the Nordschleife properly. Years. The circuit contains more than 170 corners depending on how they are counted. Many of them look almost identical. Some tighten unexpectedly. Others open much later than expected. Some punish mistakes several seconds after they begin. Yet Verstappen was already operating near the top against world-class endurance specialists. At that moment, it stopped looking like a celebrity appearance and started looking seriously competitive. The paddock realized it at exactly the same time, especially Mercedes. Because while Verstappen was delivering these laps in brutal conditions, reports confirmed that Toto Wolff was traveling to the Nürburgring specifically to watch the session. Suddenly, this was no longer just an endurance racing story. This is where the situation starts becoming uncomfortable for Red Bull. Every lap Verstappen completes in that Mercedes GT3 car creates an image Formula One fans never imagined they would actually witness: Max Verstappen succeeding in a Mercedes. And the most frightening part is how natural it already feels. There was no visible struggle adapting to the car, no panic, no frustration with the conditions. Verstappen immediately looked connected to the machine. And that matters because GT cars are completely different from Formula One cars. Formula One machines are ultra-light, razor-sharp, hyper-aggressive tools built for precision. GT cars are heavier, slower to react, and constantly moving around underneath the driver. Drivers fight the steering wheel over bumps and weight transfer every second. It is like stepping out of a fighter jet and into a heavyweight road car in the middle of a snowstorm. Most Formula One drivers would need time to adapt. Verstappen looked comfortable almost instantly, and the Nürburgring is the perfect place to expose true driving instinct. You cannot simply memorize your way around this circuit. Conditions change too quickly. Fog appears out of nowhere. Temperatures suddenly drop. Grip vanishes in random sections. Traffic arrives constantly. Drivers must react naturally. And Verstappen's reactions looked frighteningly calm, even during the worst parts of the session. Later in qualifying, rain intensified and hail began falling harder across the track. Some drivers decided not to keep pushing because the danger level became too high. That decision was understandable. The Nordschleife in mixed weather conditions is terrifying. Certain sections see drivers exceeding 200 kilometers per hour while barely seeing beyond their headlights. At night, the Nürburgring becomes even more extreme. Huge sections have almost no lighting. Brake markers disappear into darkness. Visual references vanish completely. Imagine sprinting through a forest at full speed while somebody switches off the lights corner by corner. That is what drivers experience here, and this is where the story becomes bigger than motorsport itself. Formula One drivers usually avoid taking risks outside their category because the dangers are enormous. One bad accident can damage an entire Formula One season. There are financial risks, political risks, and obvious physical risks. Yet Verstappen keeps choosing bigger challenges, sim racing, GT racing, and now the Nürburgring. That says something powerful about his mentality. He is still searching for something more, and perhaps Toto Wolff sees that as well. That is why this entire weekend feels strangely symbolic. While Verstappen attacked the Nürburgring in a Mercedes, Red Bull was nowhere near the center of the story. No dominant headlines, no championship conversations, no focus on Formula One title battle. For once, the spotlight shifted completely elsewhere, and Toto Wolff clearly understood how powerful that image could become. For years, Wolff openly chased the dream of bringing Verstappen to Mercedes. Most people dismissed it as impossible, too expensive, too complicated, too unrealistic. But now the cameras are showing something completely different. Not rumors, not negotiations, reality. Verstappen wearing Mercedes colors. Verstappen delivering results. Verstappen naturally fitting into the Mercedes world. And that changes how people emotionally view the possibility. In Formula One, emotion matters far more than most fans realize. Because once an idea starts looking real, the pressure inside the sport changes instantly.